Okay, today we're doing something a bit different. I'm going to be talking about the future of Overwatch as a game and if I think it has a chance to make any sort of comeback. If you want a straight up answer right now so you don't have to dig through this whole video, yes, I really do believe that Overwatch still does have a future. I have optimism that things could turn around for the better. But I don't say any of this with 100% confidence, and I recognize that a lot of stuff definitely has to be done the right way for it to even have a chance. As for why I wanted to bring up this subject today, ladies and gentlemen, I feel that the last year in particular has seen a lot of talk, and a lot of said talk has been inherently negative for some pretty obvious reasons that we'll get into. But recently, tons of people who attended the Overwatch creators meeting left with some of the most optimism we have seen for the game in years. And that has sparked a lot of extra conversation about the future of what this game might hold. As of right now, we have no clue why the content creators are so excited and why so many of them have optimism again, but the fact that there's any reason to be excited at all makes me believe that now is the right time to talk about the future of Overwatch from my perspective. I've been playing this game since the beta, so I feel that I'm more than allowed to express my thoughts here. Today I'm sitting down and letting out all of my unfiltered opinions. I am not holding back, and I'm going over everything from like balancing and content to where things stand with the pros. I'm discussing my issues, potential solutions, and what the devs have done wrong and right, as well as just some general thoughts on if the game has a future. And if any of that sounds interesting to you, then I suggest sticking around. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to mention is the current state of the game. For a lot of us, the game is stale. I used to be able to play ranked for hours on end without wanting to stop, but these days I can barely even play casually for more than a few times a week. It really stings to say such a thing out loud because this is one of my favorite games ever. It quite literally has changed my life and what I want to do with it. But the fact of the matter is, the player base is not happy. It doesn't really matter that Overwatch 2 is in development. The devs haven't really tried much in recent years to keep their player base interested in the game they currently have out, and reason to just feel excited about what's to come in the future. There's no significant changes these days. No major balance patches, no new heroes, no new events, no new maps. I feel like the last time the game seriously felt at least kind of fresh was when they buffed Genji for that month or two back in 2020. Try thinking about the last time we got a new hero as well. The last character we got was Echo in April 2020. It's been a year and a half since then. New heroes have been a driving force which has kept the player base interested. Think back to when they gave us like Ana, or even Sombra. That was a really hype time, and I think Ana in particular saw a lot of use at all levels of play because she was a lot of fun and good. And what about Sigma? I could still vividly remember Blizzard inviting Seagull out to test that character. And when Echo came out, we got the whole Flash Ops tournament thing. The point I'm trying to make is new heroes usually attract crazy interest and lots of new content for streamers and pro play. With Overwatch 2's release getting pushed back more and more, it makes the decision to not add any new characters into the game look kind of bad. They just have to have characters lined up already for Overwatch 2, right? Somebody like Sojourn has been in the works for a long time most likely, and you'd have to imagine they're just waiting for Overwatch 2 to release her. But honestly, I think it might be a good idea to just full send it and break her out now instead. They need to do something. If it's not going to be a new hero, try implementing the new push game mode you've been working on or something. Those maps have been done for ages now, it feels like. Or maybe you could update some of the characters so they have the abilities they're supposed to have in Overwatch 2. How about the crazy creator experimental thing you did? You could try throwing in some of those into the live patch. Or better yet, how about just a new map? The last non-deathmatch map we got, I believe, was Havana, right? And that was like in freaking 2019. They were making at least 2 major maps a year before 2020. What on earth happened? Please, for the love of God, give me something refreshing. It's part of what made Overwatch really fun those first couple of years, There was always something to look forward to keep me coming back. It's very frustrating to sit here and watch them do basically nothing. The Overwatch fanbase has been incredibly patient, and this has been their reward. You know why people keep coming back to your game, right? It's because they love this game. They love the universe that you made. They remember how much fun it used to be. They have a passion for it. For many of us, Overwatch helped us find a new esports, an occupation, some new friends, or even a new community to be a part of. We all have an attachment, and that attachment is slowly but surely dying. All we've gotten recently is a whole bunch of band-aids and nothingness to try and cover things up. I swear, things just haven't been the same ever since they couldn't properly balance goats. Ever since then, I feel like it's just been one meta overstaying its welcome after another with a lot of just unfun gameplay. You had goats, you had double shield, and now it feels like most people just auto-lock ball and hog. It's really annoying to see so many tank players only play Roadhog. It drives me nuts. I feel like, at least casually, nobody plays real tank compositions anymore. Even top-level games are like this sometimes. I see high-level players complain about Roadhog on Twitter all the time. And you know why that is? It's because tank isn't fun anymore. That's why these people are locking hog. The traditional tanks that you see in pro play oftentimes just get destroyed in ranked when there's little to no synergy with your team. It's awful, and I can't help but wonder if that is the main reason why Blizzard decided to go towards 5v5. You know, in a way, I can't even blame tank players for quitting or auto-locking hog. What other realistic options are there? People just want to have fun. Yeah, winning is great, everybody wants to rank up, but nobody wants to feel useless for 75% of the match. It's not fun if you're not on a real team with actual synergy and communication. You get bullied by crowd control, and that's just about it. Main tank outside of Wrecking Ball is an absolute nightmare. Like, back in the day, I was always down to lock some Reinhardt, you know? It was a blast. But these days, I'm only playing Rein if I'm messing around with my friends. Other than that, catch me on Wrecking Ball or Diva, you know? I'm not touching main tank. You best believe that I'm not even touching tank at all if I'm queuing for competitive, which is rare for me to begin with these days because, again, everybody locks hog and other things that make comp not even worth playing at times. It sucks because I honestly do love the idea of a role queue. I really thought this was going to be a big time saving grace. I understand that the only reason it got implemented is because of Blizzard failing to nerf goats. It also sucks from a pro standpoint since it kind of ruins some of the creative compositions and aspects of the game that were really fun to watch back in the day. But honestly, I think that role queue on paper was a great addition for the more casual players. If it weren't for god-awful queue times and tank being such a garbage role, I think this would have been a smashing success. Role queue just seemed like such a good idea because, let's face it, we've all had those comp games where we've lost where 3 people just insta-lock DPS before you even start the match. Implementing a role queue at least ensured that you're not going to lose the game before it even started. But again, the execution just wasn't there because of those high-level queues being ridiculous and DPS in general just taking way too long. You know, now that I think about it, that's probably an additional reason why they decided to go 5v5, to try and decrease those queue times. Anyway though, the player base wants and begs for change all the time, but we never get any of it. Now of course, that could change very soon if the excited content creators out there are any sort of indicator, but as of right now, here in the present, most players feel like they've been left on an island. I enjoy playing Overwatch, but in small doses. I can't do it more than a few times a week. I was addicted back in my heyday. I could pump out 50 plus comp games a season, no problem. But those days have been over for quite some time. I mean, literal years at this point. We all crave content, but we don't get it. The game used to be really good with it too. I mean, that first year was a blast. Getting things like the Archives event, Summer Games, Junkenstein's Revenge, and the Christmas stuff. It was all a lot of fun. Those were things that kept me and a lot of my friends coming back for endless hours of fun. And you know, even the second year of that same stuff was kind of fine in my book. I honestly looked forward to grinding some Lucio Ball with my soccer-loving friends again, and we even got some new PvE stuff too, with the Blackwatch event. I enjoyed the free-for-all stuff and the EcoPoint Antarctica 3v3, but after that second year, it was kind of like, okay, what's next? When are we getting something new? I don't mind doing the same thing 2 years in a row, but let's get something fresh going after that. But of course, none of that really ever came. The last, I'd say, fresh event we got, if you even want to call it that, was the Storm Rising PvE, and even that didn't feel like the same quality as the previous 2 events. Since then, it's really just been the same stuff. Nothing like logging into Overwatch to play Mei Snowball Offensive for the 3rd year in a row, am I right? The only real stuff that we've gotten that's new, I guess you could say, are skins and the occasional new free-for-all map, but that stuff lasts for a week and then nobody really cares anymore. Change is literally the only thing we want, and it's the only thing we don't get. It's crazy how the quality of the game has degraded the way it has. It's taken such a large fall from grace, but it came in such a slow and painful manner. That's what's probably the most frustrating thing of all. It's not like the game took a huge hit all in a short burst of time. Oh no. This was a long and painful tumble to the bottom, and all we as the player base could do is look in horror. Watching the game fizzle out over time is the worst thing you can do. You know why? Because it only gives the player base more time to think about the things you easily could have done differently. It's quite honestly frustrating, and part of the reason I haven't streamed the game, despite knowing that some of you have shown interest in that kind of content. All of these combined factors just collectively piss off your players. I consider myself lucky that I enjoy watching pro play as much as I do, because if I didn't, Overwatch would be something I rarely even looked at all these days. It's unfortunate that I have to rely on the esports scene just to care or have any motivation to play the game, and it's impossible to escape the frustration even with the Overwatch League and pro players, because a lot of pros out there aren't the happiest either. If you go on social media, you're bound to see a pro complaining about Blizzard, ranked, balancing, or something else. Think of all the streamers who left us, and what about the pros who quit because they just couldn't make the Overwatch League for one reason or another? Contenders is basically in shambles, the pay is awful, and there isn't nearly enough promotion, and we see teams and leagues disband constantly. I mean, just in the last year alone, we've seen teams like Runaway and British Hurricane go on hiatus or disband completely. That's really disappointing. There's just no love for upcoming talent anymore. Pre-Overwatch League had all sorts of fun with tournaments and opportunities, but that's all gone now. Blizzard does not show enough support for the path to pro. It has such a minor following that it's not even worth covering for us content creators. Even if I started making some contender stuff, it's nothing compared to what Blizzard could be doing to help. I'm just a tiny blip on the radar compared to the company and many creators who are significantly bigger than me. It truly is dreadful to think about. It feels like literally nobody has been happy lately. The casual and hardcore players alike are leaving left and right. I mean, how on earth are you supposed to be successful when none of your supporters are happy? The game at its peak was glorious. Overwatch was supposed to be the next big thing at one point. From 2016 until 2018, this game was thriving, but since then, everybody's just been constantly falling. The pro leagues don't get the same viewership, and the player base has shrunk, and the game just has not been the same since the GOAT's takeover and Jeff Kaplan leaving the Overwatch team. The passion for the game has basically been cut into a fraction of its former whole. And that makes me very disappointed because I know damn well what this game is capable of. Remember when millions upon millions of people were invested in the esports scene alone? That feels like ages ago. And while the average number of players per day is still okay, it's not what it was. People are just so incredibly invested in Overwatch still anyway. They love it. They love the characters, the lore, the pro matches, and their own gameplay when everybody is actually trying. But we're all getting tired of waiting. Why do you think so many content creators have started to play and cover other games? They recognize that the future is unclear and that they cannot rely on Overwatch forever. And on top of that, lots of people are just bored of playing this game for hours on end as their job every week. I can't blame any pro or streamer for taking a break or leaving altogether. Why settle for Overwatch, where nobody seems to care, when you could be trying a thriving game like Valorant, or maybe you want to play League of Legends, whatever it may be. You also have people who just don't want to play any other game, so those people retire altogether and do something else with their lives and give up on gaming professionally. So many pioneers and big names don't come anywhere near this game anymore, and it's depressing to think about. Up until recently, there's been nothing but doomer posts everywhere you look on social media. We need to patch this, the characters are so busted that, competitive play sucks, the devs don't care, etc. Think about all the complaints from the typical Overwatch YouTubers and famous Samito rant videos. Everybody has something to say, and while it's crazy negative a majority of the time, you have to realize that they only do this because they care. We go this far with our complaints because we like the game. Most of us just want Blizzard to do something, literally anything. We want to see that same passion that led to the creation of this game to begin with. And don't even get me started on the additional frustration of all the Overwatch 2 delays and the lack of announcements. Did you know that it's been nearly 800 days since the original announcement of Overwatch 2? Over 2 years have passed, and throughout most of that time, we've gotten very few updates. There's only been 2 real announcements. One is that the game is being delayed, which sucks obviously, and the other is that the Overwatch League will be ran on an early version of the game. That in itself was good news because it's a good way to potentially generate hype, but it also doesn't help the general player base all that much. much. And I guess we've gotten some gameplay here and there as well, which is kind of nice, but that's about it. As for right now, we're mostly still in the dark. Even the pro players, I believe, are technically still looking for answers. Only popular creators know what's going on. The biggest stars of the game still don't even have all the details for practice and any of that stuff for the Overwatch League this year. And think about Tier 2. Those guys don't even know if it's guaranteed that they'll be playing on the same early build of the game or not. There's a lot of unanswered questions, delays, and frustration. Good news on the way or not, we are all sitting here wondering what the heck is going to happen next with no clear direction that the general public is aware of. This lack of communication has been the case for years, and frankly, I'm tired of it. I love this game, but it hurts so much to see the poor management of it all. That in itself is infuriating to think about because they've honestly done a decent job when they've actually tried and put effort in. Pro play is incredible, it's always fun to watch. I think that Blizzard did a great job of catering towards their esports scene with a very broadcast-friendly setup that's always getting better. And before Overwatch 2, we got balance patches. Back when they actually balanced the game and made adjustments to characters, it was fun to see them change D.Va into something useful, or like the evolution of Roadhog Hook and the different iterations that had. And what about the Reaper rework? How many of you remember the Soul Orb passive? I mean, it was such a long time ago. Or what about when they changed Mercy, or the Billion Symmetra reworks? Obviously, not all of the changes they've made have been fantastic, but at least they tried back then. The evolution of the game during its heyday was pretty amazing. And again, like I was talking about before, they used to put a decent amount of maps in the game, and some of them were okay. I mean, we did have some duds like Horizon and Paris, but others were kind of enjoyable to me. And as I said before, I appreciated the PvE stuff and the seasonal updates that we'd get. We had role queue, we had avoid slots to help make the players a bit happier, then we had full access to the creator workshop and custom games. Those were masterpiece additions. The point I'm trying to make is that Overwatch was actually fun, and it felt rewarding to come back to when actual effort was put into it. But now look at us. A lot of former players don't even have a reason to log back in anymore. And it doesn't help that there's been additional distractions in the form of lawsuits directed at Blizzard. Regardless of who is and isn't involved and who deserves to get fired, Overwatch gets sucked into all of that. A game that many of us still love dearly has to be affiliated with that kind of stuff, which obviously makes everything a whole lot worse, as it serves as a major distraction both for the player base and the workers. It only means Overwatch 2 gets delayed even more as some people do the walkout, or when other people simply just quit the company altogether. I really hope that Blizzard can turn things around with this company, because the workplace should be a safe place for all people. We're in the 21st century, you know? Equality is a must, and I stand by those walkouts and need for change completely. But the fact of the matter is, having that stuff go on beyond the game itself makes the situation that much worse, and it's unclear if this stuff is ever going to come to an end at the current rate that it's going. But you know, at least for Overwatch itself, maybe it can finally start to turn around, which gets me into the Overwatch creator meeting that I mentioned previously. If you're not aware, Blizzard recently held a meeting with all of the big name Overwatch streamers and video makers out there, and whatever they pitched to them really got all of them fired up. And when I say everyone, I mean literally everybody had something good to say about this meeting. They couldn't get into the exact details for obvious reasons, but most of the major creators had a similar tone with their post. They expressed nothing but excitement, and some went as far as saying that Overwatch might be saved, while others said that the future is bright. Even Samito, the guy who always seems to have something to rant about, was excited, and that tells me there must have been one hell of a pitch on the table if even Samito was excited. Even some of the biggest doomers are suddenly optimistic again. That's pretty crazy that one meeting could suddenly turn around the attitude of so many people who love this game. What on earth could they have possibly said? But does it really matter? I mean, just the fact that there's any optimism at all is a good sign. The only problem, though, seems to be that apparently they left out pros, which is a little silly given that they know this game more than most and usually have good feedback to give. Hopefully, if they haven't already, they get clued in very soon. In the meantime, I guess we can at least have some hope again. Obviously, we need to approach this with a kind of cautious mindset as we see how things play out, and I think some of the creators even backed up this thought process, because it definitely would be foolish to say that Overwatch is back for sure and that it's going to make a huge comeback. But hey, if I can have any reason at all to at least feel a little excited once more, then that is fine with me, because it has been way too long since we have entered this doomer period, so I'm going to take whatever we can get. But some might say, isn't it a little strange that literally everybody had similar words to say? And to that I say, yeah, that is bizarre, but maybe they genuinely all were blown away with what they heard. Maybe the pitch really was that good. I don't blame you if you're suspicious or you have your doubts, and I encourage everybody watching this video to wait and see before coming to any conclusions, but good news is still good news, and I think it's important that we accept that. The positive response to this one meeting has most of us thinking that some sort of new content is on the way very soon. Maybe Blizzard could be giving us some sort of way to play Overwatch 2 early. If I was Blizzard and the Overwatch team, I'd look at the success of Halo. They put out their multiplayer before any of their other stuff in all of their game modes, but people still loved it, and I think it would be great if Overwatch did something similar. There's nothing wrong with wanting to ensure that your game is well received, and I respect how much they care, but you also have to recognize that having a total perfectionist mindset can be a bad thing, especially if you already have stuff ready to go that you know the public would love to try. Anything at all, man. A new hero, new maps, a new game mode, an early multiplayer build of the game perhaps. Anything at all, please. I'm not exactly sure what's going to be on the way, but it has to be something interesting that grabs our attention if so many people are excited. I just hope that it's executed correctly, because this game needs a jolt of life and it needs it now. The esports scene is hurting, the casual player base is hurting, and the player count can only dip from here if they continue to have this game stay idle. If we could get some sort of spark to just hold us over for a little longer, that would be great. I don't want to see this game die this way. I really don't. If the game went down with them at least trying to make it better, then that's fine with me. However, I am not in the mood to see a beloved franchise die from something as silly as inactivity and trying to buy time. If you want my honest opinion on if Overwatch is dying, the answer right now is yes. I don't need to be the one to tell you that though, it's pretty obvious. However, that does not mean that we can't see change or some sort of turnaround. Again, it really depends on what was so good about that creator meeting and what we end up getting delivered to us in the next couple of months. I'm also kind of hoping that watching the Overwatch League on an early version of this upcoming game can help bring back some excitement. Staying hopeful and taking the word of the content creators out there is all we have. And to be brutally honest with you, that's really scary since there's no concrete proof that a resurgence is inbound since we really don't know what's going on. As somebody who has invested years of his life into this game, it hurts to say that, but that's where we stand. There's hope, but also reason to be absolutely terrified. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to continue to stay optimistic, but not overexcited. Overwatch has a future, but it's going to depend greatly on the level of effort and amount of content we receive in the near future. That's all there is to it. For me right now, it's like 50-50 on how this goes. Hopefully we end up on the right side of that percentage. Until stuff happens, that's kind of where my thought process on the future of this game ends. Thanks to those of you who watched the entire thing. It means a lot that you're interested in hearing what I have to say. I care about this game a lot, and all I want is for it to succeed. It's a fantastic game at its core, with a fun community if you go to the right places. And surely most of you watching hold a similar opinion. That's enough of me rambling though. If you enjoyed the video, dropping a like and a sub would mean a lot. And if you're interested in me making more general Overwatch content like this, tell me down in the comments below so I know this is a type of thing that I could do in the future again. And as always, thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate your support. And until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.